fellow Toastmasters. I'm Kenneth, and I will give a little workshop on pronunciation. So, wait, I need this to go through my slides. Okay, so, alright, first I'd like to give you some acknowledgements. First is that there are many dialects of English globally, so basically there is no correct way to pronounce English, but you can choose one way to pronounce English, that maybe is Swedish English or American English, or yeah, so you can choose one, but I wouldn't suggest you to choose a mixed one because sometimes it sounds kind of weird. And for my part, I've been to the United States, specifically Utah, for 2 years when I was in elementary. So my pronunciation would sound like something like the pronunciation spoken there. Alright? So, why do we need to learn how to pronounce? First of all, when we meet someone, we want to have confidence, and we want to look, we want to have confidence. So if we can pronounce correctly, sometimes, most of the time, we will be very confident. So that's one of the problems with some Taiwanese speakers, is that they don't have confidence when they step up to a foreigner. And also, if you have good pronunciation, when you're on the stage, everyone can understand what you're saying, and they will be more interested in what you're trying to say. So it catches the audience attention. So that's one big important part of good pronunciation. So the most important part of pronunciation is that you can convey your thoughts correctly. So let's tell a little story. So maybe it's Halloween, so it's kind of like a scary story. So one day, a Japanese guy walked into a restaurant, and he wanted to order some rice. So he told the waiter, say, "I want a bowl of rice." So he wanted a bowl of rice, but he said, "I want a bowl of rice." So that's something that you don't want to do. So that's one of the reasons why you want to learn how to pronounce correctly, so that people won't misunderstand you. So now I'm going to go through some common mistakes by Taiwanese speakers. So you might find some of your problems here, and you can fix it, hopefully, at the end of this workshop. Okay, first we'll go through single words. Some problems when we speak single words. So first is something that I call a lazy mouth. So what is a lazy mouth? A few weeks ago, I asked my roommate to read a paragraph to me, and I found one example. For short piece, he said short piece. So, what's the problem with that? The problem is that he didn't open up his mouth enough. So I call this the lazy mouth. He said short piece, but it's actually short piece. You need to have the R and the piece. You have to open up your mouth a little bit more, so you have to kind of exaggerate your motions to make this sound more correct. And king of the world. So one of my cousins once said to me, I don't know under what condition, what occasion, he said, "I'm the king of the world." He said, "I'm the king of the world." World. King of the world. So what's the problem? The world, the R. We often miss out the R because we didn't let our tongue go to the back of our mouth. So we have to be careful. Be careful, the R sound, world. So here are some other examples. For let's, someone say it like that's. His. Don't say his. His. And detail. Don't say tell. Feeling. It's not feeling. You have to emphasize the L a little bit. Feeling. And crying. The R make sure you don't miss it. Not crying, crying, and R. Some say it ah, so remember the R sound is very important. R. Alright, next. How should we fix our lazy mouth problem? It's pretty easy. Just move your mouth, move your lips a little bit more, open it up, and move your tongue. Sometimes it's kind of difficult, but you have to at least try. Like sometimes you have to move your tongue to the front and then instantly move it to the back. It's kind of difficult, but you can practice and get better. So now, let's go on to the next part. It's called the difficult TH sound. Because in Chinese there is basically no sound, no TH sound, but sound, right? No sound. So some people, when they pronounce these words on the right, they sound like this. So it sounds like thousand, the, the, lay, that, or yeah, something like that. But it should be thousand, the, there, they, that, and think, others, and those. So the key here is that you have to actually stick your tongue out. So some Taiwanese speaker, when they say the TH sound, they have their tongues hidden behind their teeth. So you have to move it outside and kind of bite it gently and let air out between your teeth and your tongue. Alright? So TH sound. Remember, you have to bite your tongue a little bit. Try to exaggerate it first when you first try it, and then you can, as you pick it up, you can make the gesture a little bit smaller. Alright, next one is called what I call the overemphasis. So, how do you pronounce this word? Some people say it like evaluation because they see an L-U in the middle. But actually, from what I've heard, it's actually evaluation. I've never heard a native speaker said evaluation. So, evaluation. Evaluation. And for special, although it's spelled special, but we don't say it special, it's actually special, so it's just a weird thing about English, you have to memorize it. And for sigma, some professors may say it like sigma. Remember, you don't follow their pronunciation, because just try to look it up yourself and find the correct pronunciation. And for psi, it's not psi, the P is silent. Same thing for psychology and pseudo. You don't pronounce the P, so remember that. Oftentimes when P goes with an S, it's a silent sound. And next is called the accent error. So what is an accent error? When we see the word communism, we think of community. So we will tend to say like communism, or maybe for mechanism, we might want, because we know mechanic, so we want to say mechanism. But it's actually not how it works. So when you first see this word and you have never hear its pronunciation, you should look it up and see where the accent is. For the first word is communism, second word mechanism, psychological, technological, and parameter. And the next one is an operator. Because a lot of my professors say this word like operator, probably because of operation, the word operation. So you want to say operator instead of operator. And another important thing is the difference in pronunciation between a noun and a verb of the same word. Okay, so for the word produce is a noun and produce is a verb. And for progress, it's a noun, and progress, it's a verb. And for detailed, you want to say it detailed instead of detailed. All right. So accent, very important. Now we're gonna move on to some pronunciation errors that might be made when we say a string of words. So it's basically phrases or sentences. So let's take a look. So first one is called the unnecessary swaths. So what is the unnecessary swaths? Actually, I've never saw that word. I looked it up and then I found this word. So let's give some examples. I brought tea, coffee, and the juice. So you probably often hear this when other people say English. So how should this be fixed? How should it be fixed? I think everyone knows, right? I brought tea, coffee, and juice. So no duh. And next year I will visit Paris. Instead of saying next year I will visit Paris, it's next year I will visit Paris. It's probably because we want to emphasize the T and the D, but there's actually no point doing so. So if you think that it's kind of hard to pronounce, in a sense, some syllables of a word is kind of hard to pronounce, maybe it is time to skip it, because a lot of native speakers do that when they speak a string of words, they skip some of the syllables in a word. So let's take another look. For the connection, this is what I was talking about, the connection. I brought tea, coffee, and juice. So instead of saying, I brought tea, coffee, and juice, when we say it really fast, it becomes, we brought tea, coffee, and juice. So, and juice becomes one word, kind of like one word. So we have to keep this in mind. And next year, I will visit Paris, same thing, next year. So it becomes one word, next year. Next one is the tone. The intonation of our speech is actually very important. Oftentimes we tend to just read out the words in a sentence, and it's actually kind of weird to do so. Like for the first one, are you finished? I'm finished. How did you do it? It just kind of sounds a little bit robotic. So to prevent this from happening, we have to have different intonation. The difference when we speak a word and a sentence is that we have high and lows in a sentence, and we don't have that when we just read out the words in a sentence. So for are you finished, we say are you finished? Maybe. Or because are you finished? It's kind of like commanding, so it might be a little bit. This might sound a little bit mean. And when we reply, we usually say I'm finished, I'm finished. And for a question, instead of saying how did you do it, we usually say how did you do it, or we say how did you do it, depending on the situation we're in. And for a compound predicate, as shown here, instead of saying I like a cheeseburger, right, and a small Diet Coke, we usually start high and low. So it goes, I like a cheeseburger, fries, and a small Diet Coke. So that's just some examples. And if you want more practice, you can go listen to some, maybe you all know TED Show, and a lot of people speaking English, you can learn from their speech. It's actually a pretty important part in pronunciation. Next is the tense. I think every Asian probably knows the correct tense, but sometimes because we're a little bit rushed, so we tend to forget the tense. So I'm not going to go through these because you all know these, but just remember, keep in mind, just practice more to prevent error in the tense when you speak. So, what can we do to make our pronunciation better? I have a SOP for you, and it's called, the first one is called the spot the problem. You have to know which are the words that you spoke wrong. You have to know which are the words that you can't speak, and it just doesn't sound right to you, and you have to know how to fix it, and then you practice. So it's pretty easy, 3 steps. And for recognizing our problem, you can go look through the things that we've gone through. single word part, you can say to yourself, am I moving my mouth enough? Is it the difficult th? Is it the th sound? Is it an overemphasis, or is it an accent error? Or maybe I added an unnecessary schwa in my sentence, or I didn't connect the words good enough. Or is it the tonation that sounds odd, or is it the tense that's wrong? All right. And so let's go over some daily life phrases and some problems that we might make when we say these words. So welcome. When we say welcome, we want to make our the problem that we might make is lazy mouth. So welcome. You have to really open up your mouth. And thank you, of course, it's the th sound that's difficult. Thank you. Put your tongue out. Thank you. You're welcome. The R sound. You're welcome. You're welcome. And goodbye. See ya. And sorry, the R. What's up? And nothing, the th. How are you? The R sound. Fine. How are you? Maybe the tonation here is important. Fine. How are you? And nice to meet you. Yeah, the tonation here again. Don't say nice to meet you. Say nice to meet you, and nice to meet you too. And maybe excuse me. Alright? So, last I'm going to give you some tips to make your pronunciation better. First one is to never assume pronunciation. I had a professor, and he said singular, like singular, and I'm pretty sure that he never looked it up in a dictionary or hear anyone say that word, because that's just hilarious for like all of us. It's kind of fun to listen to him because he has to say that word many times in his class, so it's kind of funny for us. So don't assume pronunciation. If you've never seen that word, look it up and hear the correct pronunciation. Next is to have confidence. We know that Helen Keller, she was unable to hear nor see. However, she could learn how to pronounce. So why can't we? We have eyes and we have ears. And a normal one too. So have confidence, we can do this. Alright? And next one is perseverance. Like learning any sports or learning basically anything, we need to put hard work into it if we want to master it. Alright, so we want to work hard, and it takes time. Of course, it will take time. Just knowing it is not enough. We need to practice. And the next one is we have to speak it. We have to practice it. So how do we practice? Well, for one thing, we can say it to ourselves or say it to others. So when you want to, maybe most of us have this so-called OS, right? Some of you might know is that it's kind of like a sound that we speak to ourselves. Maybe you can make that English to practice your pronunciation, or you can actually speak it out to other people or to yourself when you're alone. That's a very good way to practice English pronunciation. The next one is to pick out the difficult words for you. Maybe it's the th sound, so you might want to pick it out and say it 10 times before you go to sleep. Or maybe practice until you say it correctly. And then I believe in a short time, maybe not short, in some time, you will be able to master these words and they will become part of you and you will have good pronunciation. Alright, good luck everyone. That's all. Thank you.